Welcome into our post-game coverage of the South Carolina LSU game here tonight in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at Tiger Stadium. Our report is brought to you by the South Carolina Beef Council. 20-10, LSU beats the Gamecocks here tonight in Baton Rouge. South Carolina, just too many mistakes to overcome. The Gamecocks put up a great effort. That's why Shane Beamer was so frustrated in the post-game interview, because he felt like his team played hard enough to win this game, and it was there for them to win. They just could not overcome all their mistakes, like 13 penalties, many of them, once again, of the pre-snap variety. Gamecocks also had a couple of turnovers. They gave up 5 sacks, suffered another injury on the offensive line, also an injury in their secondary. All that added up to be too much for the Gamecocks to overcome here in front of over 100,000 fans at Tiger Stadium. South Carolina falls to 3-3 overall, 1-3 in the SEC. The Gamecocks had 317 yards, but they rushed for 193 yards, which for them is an excellent amount. And also, it came against a defense that was giving up just 84 rushing yards per game. Now, 73 of that came on one run by Fuller that put the Gamecocks ahead in this game 7-3 after the Gamecocks had fumbled on their first play of the game, and that led to an LSU field goal. But that 72-yard run by Fuller put the Gamecocks up 7-3. Then LSU went on a scoring drive, a touchdown pass to their tight end Green. LSU led 10-7 at the half. USC came out in the second half with the ball, and they came out to run the football, and they moved the ball well, had a nice drive going. But a holding call on Hunt at the LSU 29 pretty much killed that drive. The Gamecocks had to settle for a field goal, and it was 10-10. LSU came right back. A touchdown pass of 43 yards to Kyle Parker from Garrett Nussmeier. That made it 17-10. Then came a very critical play in the game. South Carolina was forced to punt. The Gamecocks lined up to punt. Mason Love faked the punt. He threw another completed pass that would have given the Gamecocks a first down. However, the officials threw a flag on the play and said that the Gamecocks moved on the play. And Shane Beamer was beside himself because the officials had held up the play because of substitutions, and they allowed LSU to substitute. And then the official moved behind Love. No Gamecock moved. The review showed that no one on the South Carolina side flinched or moved. Yet the official threw a flag and called the play dead. South Carolina lost that opportunity, ended up with a 57-yard punt by Love, but it cost them a chance at a potential scoring drive. LSU moved the football. However, Peyton Williams came up with an interception at the Gamecock 1 to kill that. USC drove to the LSU 32. But then Lenoris Sellers was sacked. He also was flagged for intentional grounding, so that killed that drive. USC had to punt. LSU then had to punt again. The Gamecocks had one more chance because Vicari Swain returned the punt 20 yards to the LSU 37, set the Gamecocks up in great shape. But once again, they could not move the football, and they had to they gave it up on downs. And then LSU went down the field and kicked the field goal to go up 20-10. And that was it. South Carolina once again gave it up on downs. Gamecocks' final couple of possessions ended up with turnovers on downs. So they had their chance once again, just like in the Missouri game, where the Gamecocks win in the fourth quarter with the lead. Gamecocks had a chance here in the fourth quarter to make something happen. They just couldn't do it. Sellers finished 15 of 27, 124 yards. He had no touchdown passes, one interception. He also carried the ball 22 times, but for a net of just 19 yards because of the lost yardage on the sacks. Fuller led the Gamecocks with 7 rushes, 83 yards. Nussmeier was 20 of 33, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His tight end Green was pretty much impossible for the Gamecocks to cover. 8 catches for 119 yards and 1 touchdown. So the takeaway from this game for South Carolina is they played hard enough to win this game. They played well enough in some ways to be in position to win this game, but they could not overcome the mistakes, the penalties at inopportune times. I mean, it's mind-boggling how many pre-snap penalties they had that set back their drives when they had something going. The noise here, of course, is always a factor, but again, that's just something South Carolina has not been able to solve to this point in the season. Then, of course, they had a couple of turnovers, and the sacks were also a big minus for them as well in trying to make something happen uh, when they had the football. Defensively, again, you hold an SEC opponent at their place to 20 points, you kind of feel like you've got a good opportunity to win the game. And that's exactly what the Gamecocks had, a good opportunity to win the game. They just couldn't finish the job. And that is what Beamer said after the game. That's why he was so frustrated, felt like this game was there to be won, too many mistakes, and they just could not finish the job. So the Gamecocks now have begun their gauntlet of SEC games. They're 0-1 now against this 5-game stretch that's going to make or break their season. Oklahoma comes to Columbia next weekend, and of course Alabama after that. And then the Gamecocks still have to go to Ole Miss and still have to go to Texas A&M. We'll see how they we'll see how they look after that 5-game stretch and what it means to this season. But for now, this one stings because they felt like they had a chance to come into Baton Rouge and get a significant win in a place where they've only won one time in their history. We'll have coverage of the Shane Beamer conference call for you on Sports Talk SC tomorrow evening, and more coverage here of this game right here on our website, sportstalksc.com. Once again, LSU wins it 20-10. Thanks for joining us here. Sports Talk at the Stadium, brought to you by the South Carolina Beef Council.